I want to thank Roma for her introduction, but I think my favorite introduction was one time someone was introducing Devi and me, and they said, "These are the headlight bearers." And then, not following the dictum that when you're in a hole, stop digging, went on to say, and they have been putting out the light for over 40 years. So, which I enjoyed greatly. So obviously we have gathered here together. Partly it is to live in joy. That's really what we're trying to do, is to return to our natural state of joy. Now, joy, of course, is different from humor, and it's different from happiness. It's different from all of those. There's a deeper current that exists within us and has always existed within us. And we search here and there to try to rediscover that innate joy. And we find little pieces of it. I was listening to one time, not listening, I was reading of some teachings of Anandamoyi Ma. And she said that the true food for the mind, the heart, and the soul is joy. But because people have not discovered that, they're hungry. And so they look here and there and everywhere. And she told her disciples, don't try to stop people from seeking whatever pleasures they are trying to seek. She said, they're starving to death. But they're starving to death because they're not eating the true food of the soul, which is joy. And so gathering together on a beautiful weekend like this in a very sacred spot. I'll tell you a little bit of history about this place because it's quite pertinent. But gathering together in this sacred spot, it's time for us to just relax back into our own self. Now that takes letting go of the restlessness that kind of inhibits that. All of the things that are the thoughts that run through the brain, the desires that run through the heart, all of those things create a kind of a veil that keeps us from feeling our own already existing innate joy that is residing within us. So basically, what we need to do is we need just to relax into our own self. Now, that relaxation can't be done the way that, I don't know, we think of relaxing after a hard day's work, which is to lower our energy. There is a relaxation of raising your energy. We study that. We sometimes learn it best by doing yoga postures. When you're doing a yoga posture, trying to move into the proper position, you can't do that by increasing the tension, by pushing harder, by forcing your head closer to your knee. That doesn't work, and you'll end up injuring yourself. And so with deep concentration, but also with deep relaxation, you just have to feel where the resistance is. Where is the muscle tight? And go to that point. Just hold there without pushing through, but holding there. And then after a few seconds, you'll feel the muscle let go, and you can go a little bit deeper. So it is with meditation and what we will be working with this weekend. If you just fall asleep, you're not going to go into deep meditation. But if you try to push through with tension, you're also not going to go to deep meditation. Go to the point where you're finding resistance. Resistance of the physical body is tightness of the muscle or a tendon. Resistance in the mind is you get to a point and the mind begins to get restless. It moves away from the object of your concentration. And so don't try to force through. Don't try to tell the mind you have to concentrate. You must. I'm here on a holy journey and all of that doesn't work. But kind of watch the mind the way that you would feel the body, feel the mind as soon as the mind realizes that it's being observed, it will begin to behave itself like a little child that's misbehaving. As soon as you are aware, as soon as you're mindful of the mind itself, it will begin to behave itself. So during this weekend, we'll have many times to meditate together. We'll have many chances to be able to try to go deep together. But just keep bringing the mind back. Keep bringing your attention back to the point of, to the object of your meditation. Be that technique such as Kriya, or looking into the light, or listening to the sound, whatever you're doing, even if you're chanting inwardly. I'm quite capable, I assume you're quite capable of mentally chanting a chant while I'm thinking of something completely different. You know, you can have that mindless repetition going on, and that really does not accomplish the goal. So if we're chanting inwardly, really pay attention to what you're chanting. Sometimes, in fact, quite often, I will take a chant and I will chant that chant inwardly exclusively for maybe 2 weeks, trying to go deeper and deeper and deeper, such as Door of My Heart. There's such a beautiful bhav to that chant. It was one of Swami Kriyananda's favorites. And toward the latter part of his life, I would say most of the time when he chanted, he would start with Door of My Heart. But Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me. If you chant that or have those words be really meaningful to you, you're calling out to God, my heart is open, please come, just for once come to me. If you get behind the words themselves into the bhav of that, there can be a great magnetism of your soul call. Wilt that day come to me, Ma, when well, yeah, I'll go on with that. I was going to another chant, but will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for you night and day. So if you go deep into what you're doing this weekend, put your whole heart into it, your whole mind into it, and then do the effort. But then Swami Kriyananda often emphasized the fact that the real art of meditation, the real art of communing with God is listening to God's response. So again, most devotees find it easier to do something toward God than to be calm and be quiet and listen for God's response, because God responding to us is what we have to learn to do, learn to accept, learn to feel. That's why Master in the energization exercises talked about there being two parts to it. You tense with will, and then you relax and feel. I've seen over a long, many decades, most people get the tense with will part, but the relax and feel, not so much. They go on, they tense with will, and then they tense with will again, and they continue that. Perhaps you too have done that and are a little bit not mindful about the other part of relaxing and feeling. Well, the depth of meditation comes after the practice of the techniques, when the mind begins to get quieter, when the desires of the heart, which are what disturbs the consciousness, when they begin to settle down, even on a subconscious level, I'm speaking. So when that all begins to settle down, it's then with the withdrawal of energy from the outward going energy, and we'll talk much more about this tomorrow when we talk about Kriya Yoga, but when the energy is going outward, the mind is naturally going to be disturbed. It's only as the energy begins to withdraw, finally, as it begins to withdraw from the senses, then finally it will withdraw from the circuits, neural circuits in the brain. The energy will withdraw and we'll be able to concentrate deeply. But all of that takes being mindful in the moment, being concentrated as we meditate, and being ready to relax and feel God's presence. Now, it will help if during the rest of the time here, we don't get too busy in our interactions with each other or with the world. Set aside for a few hours too much busyness on the phone and whatever electronic devices you have. We can't really quite be so strict, but it would be good to have a box and you surrender your phones as you come in and are allowed to get them back when you leave the property at the end of the weekend. Well, probably the number of people, if we had put that out, would be half of what we have, a quarter of what we have. But the idea, at least, is something that we should do. Don't continue. Part of the advantage of a weekend, part of the advantage of getting away from Bangalore or getting away from Chennai, getting away from the restless vibrations, part of the advantage is to not have that influence constantly drawing us back, kind of the momentum of habitual patterns drawing us back into the restlessness with which we came. Now, I said that we're on sacred ground. The woman who started this many years ago was, I think she was a theosophist, which is a kind of a mystical branch of consciousness. And she had a vision of creating a place in the world where the ancient teachings could be taught, where high-minded, uplifting vibrations could be. And this was told to us by a man who used to live here. I think he's passed away now, but he was her assistant or helper for many years. He was a businessman, and he was at an airport, walking down the corridor, I think coming from a flight or going to a flight, At any rate, this woman came in the opposite direction and stopped in front of him and said, "You're supposed to help me. You need to be my assistant." And he didn't know what in the world to make of this, but she was quite insistent. So he at least thought, well, let me hear her out. And they went and had some tea or something. And she talked to him about her vision and her idea. And she was very compelling. She had a lot of magnetism because of what she had was a true vision. So he agreed to stop being a businessman and become her assistant. They traveled the world over looking for property. Went to Australia, they went to several different countries, and finally they settled on coming to this area. And they looked at a very beautiful piece of property, very nice greenery on it, nice trees. There was a lake, looked like a perfect property. And she was there and she said, "No, this doesn't feel right. There's some sadness, there's some negative energy that lingers here." The man who was wanting to sell it kind of looked down and said, "Well, you see, my reason I'm selling this is that my daughter was depressed and she took her life here. And so it just didn't feel right." So then they continued looking and they found this piece of property, absolutely barren, no trees, no greenery, nothing, plus no water. And she went inside and said, "Yes, this is the place." And her assistant said, No, it can't be. It's an impossible thing to develop." She said, "No, this is the place." And so they got this property, began planting trees, and very soon they found water just beneath the surface, a lot of water. And the greenery began to grow. Every morning she would come out and she would walk around and she would look and commune with every single plant that was here. And she would ask them how they're doing. "Are you doing well? Do you need anything?" And there was this energy exchange. And because of that high-mindedness, what we see around us grew up very quickly and very beautifully. Some of the plants were very sickly and probably should have died, but the power of her love, the power of her communion brought them back to life or allowed them to thrive. And then it's been continued in that vein. So high-minded teachings have been here continually, including, of course, Ananda. This is, I think, the fourth time that Devi and I have returned here. And of course, there have been many other retreats here also. So our masters are here. The vibrations are here. So as I say, this is sacred ground. If we, like the woman who started this, if we will just be calm and commune with the vibrations here, we'll be fed by them. If we are calm and commune with the masters who we have called to be here for this weekend, then they will be here. And so let's all work together, support each other in having a beautiful Sattvic 2 or 3 days, two days together, so that we can support each other in allowing our soul nature to begin to feed on the joy of our own being. And that is the only thing, the only food that our mind and soul will ever be satisfied with.
Well, I'll just be brief. It's been a long day for many of us, and people have traveled, and we've had to get settled, and so I won't go on too long. But I do want to thank all of you for coming together for this weekend. It's really a joy for us to meet old friends and also meet new members of the Nanda family. And you see the same light of God and glory in your eyes that you see in people that everywhere in the world love Master. We're really one family united in Him. And I also want to thank the Haridas and Roma for inviting us, for helping to create this extraordinary time here and this extraordinary work in Bangalore, which is really a light for so many. And also to thank so many of you who have worked so hard to make this place beautiful. We've been here, as Jyotish said many times, it's never been this beautiful. So thank you all for what you have done. Let's. So when Roma introduced us, she said, I don't really need to introduce them because they're the reason you came. Well, really, that isn't so. The reason you came was for yourself, because you were wanting inspiration, clarity, peace, centeredness. And you thought by coming here, maybe these two people would help you do that. But it's really between you and God. And so why did you come? And how can you get what you want out of this weekend? First of all, the more conscious you are of everything you do, the more you receive from it. There's a funny story that happened at Ananda village. Yoganandaji created this, what we call the 9-day cleansing diet. It's very difficult, but it's very beneficial. And a group of us were doing it at Ananda village. And some of the men were doing hard physical labor. They were cleaning the retreat grounds, so they were working hard all day long. They were hungry. You don't get much food on this diet. And then it was evening, and this one, we came into the dining room, and you have steamed vegetables, salad, and citrus. And so this one young man was going through the dinner line, and dinner that night was steamed cabbage. Not very exciting. And he just took his plate and he took a big spoon and he threw it on his plate, and then he sat down and looked angrily at this cabbage. And then a miracle happened. The cabbage spoke to him. And it said, "How can I help you if you think of me like that?" And he said, "Oh." And then he bowed to the cabbage. And he ate it very consciously. Well, you can come to this retreat and you can say, "Oh, it's nice, I have a nice room, nice people, nice food, I like the chanting," but you won't get as much out of it if you do it with conscious awareness. And so try to remember, why did you come? In fact, I would invite you to do this before you go, when you go back to your room. Think of 1 or 2 reasons that you came consciously in your mind, not just because it was on the calendar, 2 people we haven't seen for a while. But really the question is, what do you want out of your spiritual life? Make that clear in your own mind, because if it's not clear, you can't get it. If it's clear, you will get it. Maybe it will take time, but you have to have, it's like focusing the lens of a camera. if it's blurry, you won't see clearly what's in front of you, but if you focus it, maybe it's, I want peace of mind. I want to be able to meditate better. I want to have a more generous nature. I want to be able to give my life more to God. Think of what you want spiritually. And then think, how can you get there? What's holding you down? Think about it and focus on it and work at it then. That's the beautiful thing about the spiritual life. It's not that hard, but it needs self-honesty and focus. And if you think, I always get angry, I fly off the handle too easily, then work on that. If it's, I don't come to meditation until I'm too tired and then I give it very little energy, change your life so you don't do that. Make time for it. So consciously ask yourself, what do I want spiritually? And use these few, really it's a moment in time, a tiny moment. Think of it in millions of years of incarnation, a tiny moment, but those moments can be pivotal. If you say, God, I want to change and I need your help. I remember many years ago, I was having an issue. There was a situation with another person that we weren't getting along. And I was trying everything I knew. Affirmation, prayer, visualization. Nothing was really helping. And then finally I came to Swami Kriyananda and I said, what can I do to get rid of this quality in myself that I don't want? And he kind of patted me on the head, very fatherly and kind. And he said, do what you can. But ultimately, these things are all God's grace. And but how do we draw the grace? Sincerity, focus, keep coming back, and self-offering. That's when I finally began releasing that issue, where I held it up to God and I just thought, I offer it to you, please take it. And so think of something you want to get rid of, and in the beautiful meditations we'll be having in the kirtans, consciously offer it up to God. Take this, let your grace come that I can be free. And this can be a turning point in your life. So think of why you came, what you want to give, and then finally when you leave, the last day, as you're packing your bags, even if the car is waiting for you and the plane is waiting or whatever it is, you sit down and you think, what am I taking away? And how can I keep building on this experience? It's a beautiful process, the spiritual life. I remember, I'm just thinking of this, it came into my mind, a story with Roma many years ago. It's not embarrassing about you, but it's embarrassing about me. We were giving a New Year's retreat at our meditation retreat. And I was guiding people through an exercise of writing down things about yourself that you would like to change and qualities you would like to draw to yourself in the coming year. And I was doing the same exercise. And afterwards, one of the men in the class came up to me and he said, I find that very depressing. And I said, what? He said, you've been on the path for so long and you still have things that you're working on. And just then Roma walked by with her this unbelievable sense of humor. And she looked at this man and she said, Devi is the only one in the community that isn't perfect. That's why we have her teach the guests. So, no, I'm not perfect. I have things I'm working on. But I see progress in myself, and that's what I want to share with you. Don't think spiritual change is beyond your grasp. It's not. It's within your grasp to the extent that you give it conscious awareness and energy and self-offering. And so I'm just going to close with, we have these beautiful little packets in our rooms. I don't know if you took the trouble to look at them or just ate the cookies, but I did both. But I want to close by just reading Master's poem, which you all have in your room. God, God, God. So I ask you, close your eyes. And let's use these words of our great Guru to guide us during our time together. From the depths of slumber as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I taste thee and mentally say, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind ever keeps turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God. When boisterous storms of trial shriek and worries howl at me, I drown their noises, loudly chanting. Please repeat with me. God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams with threads of memories, on that magic clock, I do emboss. Repeat with me. God, God, God. Every night in time of deepest sleep, my peace dreams and calls, joy, joy, joy. And my joy comes singing evermore together. God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving. My soul hums constantly, unheard by any, together. God, God, God. So, my friends, let us this be our guide for the days ahead. Let our minds be constantly humming, unheard by any. God. May the Master and the great ones be with us, bless us, and change our lives.